The pianist advises me that we have one song to sing, a tribute to Lenore. Very good, very good. Ladies and gentlemen, we have some friends of Lenore's from the Jenks Center that wish to make a few remarks. And the first speaker is Mr. Clarence Beauregard. I've been advised, Mr. Beauregard, while you're coming up here, that during the rehearsal for this event, you continuously ran over. And I've been advised to tell you that the time limit is 2 minutes.
Mr. Moderator, I move that the meeting be adjourned.
Mr. Clarence Beauregard.
Thank you. Now this, I don't know which one of these mics is working. Can you all hear me? Yeah. Well, this is with apologies to Abraham Lincoln. Slightly more than 7 years ago, our Chamber of Commerce brought forth upon this community a new notion, conceived in equity and dedicated to the proposition that only men are created equal, but that some men are created more equal than others. From among these supermen, therefore, that one deemed to have done the most to foster and promote the old spirit of Winchester was to be chosen Man of the Year. Women were not even mentioned. They stayed in those days in the kitchen where they belonged. Lately, however, this quiet little community, has become involved in a great civil war between the sexes, testing whether this community or any community so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. The result has been that in desperation, our women have finally come out of the kitchen and today are threatening to take over in all respects. Faced with such formidable opposition, we find ourselves obliged to capitulate. There is no way we can win. Women are smarter than we are. There are more of them. They outlive us, and they have more money than we have. So what chance do we have? So we are gathered here tonight to help the women celebrate a great victory in that war. We are met to honor a woman as the Chamber's choice for 1988 Man of the Year. This has always been accorded to one of the masculine gender, but this year the honor has gone to Miss Lenore M. Rich, whose long and distinguished career in the service of the entire spectrum of Winchester residents is known to us all. It is altogether fitting and proper that we do this, but in a larger sense, We cannot nominate, we cannot inaugurate, we cannot recreate this wonderful person. By definition, she is totally ineligible for this distinguished honor. No matter how good her credentials may be, neither the Chambers of Commerce nor we can alter the fact that this he is a she. There you have it. In order to proceed with this ceremony, we must vote to defy women's lib now and the equal rights movement. We must admit that the sexes are different. Vive la différence, as the Frenchman would say, and have a separate title for each sex. So please let us hear it for Lenore M. Rich, the first and only Winchester Woman of the Year. In my opinion, it couldn't have happened to a better guy.
Watch your step there.
Thank you.
I said to Clarence, watch out for the purse on the stairs. He said, you shouldn't have pointed it out. I was going to grab it on the way by. Ladies and gentlemen, we've had an addition to the head table on your right and everybody's left. The state representative from Winchester, Sherman Saltmarsh. That's enough. Ladies and gentlemen, the next senior, Polly McGuigan. You're going to make it. Watch the wire. You gotta really speak into this microphone and they'll never hear you.
That's true.
You want to hold it? Would you feel better?
Yeah, I always do it. It makes it better. I'm only going to mention a couple of things that happened since I've known Lenore. Unfortunately, I didn't have her in school, and my children didn't either. But since I've gotten involved in the senior center, which was back in '72 or '3, and you know Lenore's been very involved, so we have been very good friends. And there are a couple of situations I thought were worthy of mentioning. You know, all of you know, Lenore has done publicity for the senior center since we started. And she's done it for some of the church groups too, and Quota Club. Well, she's worked with many of the newspaper editors. Gotten along very well, but with one of them she had a few problems in the beginning. And the payoff was when one editor told her that her writing wasn't just right for him, and he recommended a book costing $19.95. Well, she told him she didn't have a degree in journalism, but her bachelor's degree was in English, and then she had a doctorate in education. Well, it must have registered a little bit. When she came back and said some more about it, I offered to go with her the next time she brought stuff in. I was ready to help her punch him in the nose, but unfortunately, the next time everything went very well. Now they got to admire each other immensely, so everything turned out very well. Then, as you all know, Leonore was very ill 3 or 4 years ago in the hospital. And it really was unbelievable to see Leonore walk down the hall pushing her IV tube, and everybody's head poking out of their their doors, excuse me. Oh, hello, Dr. Rich, how are you? It's either the visitor or the patient, but everywhere she went, everybody knew her. Poor woman had absolutely no privacy at all. So, and I can say it's marvelous to have her here to accept this award when you think back of how ill she was at that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Watch your step now. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Walter Dignam. Walter, I think the best route is to go right around there. In fact, why don't you bring Vinny with you? He's the next one and we can save some time. Vinny Berger, why don't you come up here too? And then we're going to eat dinner right after two more speeches there.
Good.
Walter,
Yeah, nice to see you.
good to be seen.
Hi, Leonore. Your life has caught up with you. Here you are being crowned as the First Lady of Winchester tonight, surrounded by hosts of friends, a real great tribute to you. As one of these friends who has worked with you on senior activities, I have observed firsthand the contributions you have made to the Winchester Seniors Association and to the popular Jenks Center. The most recent building addition drive was a typical example of what I mean. You were right up front in the front row to be in on the action all the time. You played a key role as a publicist, the public relations expert, and did a remarkable job on press releases and appeals for support from all segments of the community. Your hard work and that of many other supporters pushed us over the top, and now we have this attractive addition. There's one thing though, Leonore, it's a little personal, but I'm going to ask it of you. If in the future we have another project of the magnitude of this one, and the telephone contacts are necessary between us the way they were this time, would you please find a place to store your hearing aid near the telephone? This letter also gives me the opportunity to thank you for your assistance in planning the Rotary Club luncheon, given as a tribute to the Winchester seniors back in February. Your service on a publicity committee helped us to prepare and schedule releases to the news media. The two other members of the committee, a lawyer and a banker, just listened in awe as you peel off the steps we needed to take to properly highlight this event. You certainly took control of the group and you commanded their complete attention. But little did I know at the time that both of these men were former students of yours. And no wonder they didn't talk. You, without any doubt, had left a lasting impression on them. And your word was gospel. Well, Leonore, I could go on with many other examples of the impact you've had on people, but my time is up. And I don't want to be thrown off the podium here like Clarence almost got thrown.
Wouldn't be the first time.
I'd like to finish by summing up a few of the wonderful qualities you possess. A kind, gracious, and understanding lady, dedicated to helping others. Very dependable in your commitments. As honest as Abe, and just a gem of a person. Leonore, you are most deserving of this honor tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. What's this stuff there? Vinny Berger. After Vinny is Randy Kazazian. So he, right down front, that way, Randy.
Thank you, John.
Right.
Mr. Moderator, town meeting members. Oh, no, that's tomorrow night. This is a letter to Lenore from my wife Marge and I. This is a letter to Lenore from Marge and I. We consider Laura one of our dearest friends. And it reads, Dear Lenore, to paraphrase Elizabeth Barrett Browning's inspiring words, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways. Let us speak of the reasons you are being honored tonight. For your gift to the generations of children in Winchester, for your dedication to them as a teacher and a principal. You have touched so many of their lives, and they have flourished and have become better human beings because of you. For your dedication to your church, you're the epitome of a true Christian woman. Your faith has sustained you, and you have been an example to us all. For your role as a historian, you have faithfully recorded the important events of yesterday and today, so that those who follow will benefit by these experiences. For your unique ability as a writer and a speaker, you make the English language take wings, and we relish and envy the beauty you give to the written and the spoken word. For your humor and your ability to laugh even in adversity. Your happy nature has brightened many of our days. For your service to the elderly in the Winchester community at large, you have given of your time and talents to improve the quality of life in our town, and we are most grateful. But Lenore, if you think that in the December of your life you can rest on your laurels, you are mistaken. We are attaching a poem for you to consider, and I believe you will make plans to start anew. And the poem is called Hourglass, and it states, December is the year's hourglass through which the smallest day must pass, and with the setting of the sun on that short day, the year is done. Then time extends a gracious hand, upturns the glass, which holds the sand, and a new hope stirs each mortal when the days begin their course again. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very, very nice. Ladies and gentlemen, Randy Kazazian. Ready?
Mr. Moderator, tonight I choose to toast Lenore. My association with her started upon my retirement and has been one of my greatest one of my greatest pleasures following and working with her. She serves on many committees of the Jenks Center and serves them all with sincere interest and cooperation. She is my girl Monday at all the Recreation Committee meetings. She never refuses an assignment or to help anyone. Her sense of humor is to be envied. Her stories are one of the great sources of amusement to everyone. I'm aware of Sunset Rose, Lenore. I do hope it's a long one and that we walk it very slowly. As a gesture of appreciation and knowing about your lack of green thumb, Rena is entrusting in your care one of her beautiful violets, guaranteed to blossom forever. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Randy. Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, Barbara Champa.
Leonore, we know how you love to write letters and to receive letters too. And many of your friends have written so many lovely things, and we want to give to you this album, Letters to Leonore. And you'll be able to read them when you're lonely. And they're handwritten, typewritten, and really, they're something from the heart. But I forgot to tell everyone that we've got a little crisis. You'll have to look under your table or on the edge of your chairs because Leonore's lost her purse. Is there anything that you could do about finding her purse?
Where's her purse? Oh, Leonore lost her purse. Gotta find that purse.
Will you look under your table? You're not cooperating.
Oh dear.
Anyone know where it is? It's a tiny little
her to sit there?
Yeah, I'm just gonna. Sit down on your chair.
Yes, right.
If lost, return to Leonore. If lost. Leonore, sit down, please. May I have a chair, Mr. Moderator?
Hey, I don't work here, right?
Oh, I'm sorry.
$100 an hour and I gotta do heavy lift.
Leonore, we really don't like to invade your privacy. We don't like to invade your privacy. But I think that this is really a time when we should all share what Leonore has in her purse. I've never known what was in there. And she's always losing it. Always losing it. So let's see what we've got here in this tiny little packet. Ah, a typewriter. Someone stole Leonore's typewriter when we had our extension put on. And she doesn't like computers, she likes the manual typewriter. Try it out, Leonore. It works. It really does. Now let's see. Oh, Leonore, you told me that, open it up. You told me that you went up to Burlington Mall today to get a refill for your hearing aid. I didn't know you were going to make it, so we got you this instead. Will you try it on? That's not her. She takes all the minutes at all the meetings, and she needs these. Keep them, Leonore.
Forgetting my hearing aid. I keep forgetting my hearing aid, but I think it's psychological.
Leonore has been on many trips with the seniors, and she loves boating. She never could really have a wonderful, expensive boat. So we bought this for her, and when she takes her bath, she can have some fun. It is, Leonore. And what do we have here? Okay. Leonore, as you all have learned, is our publicity chairwoman, and she usually carries these things around in the purse with her. There are, help me, Leonore, about, I would say, 100 old newsletters. And, you know, she's very important in that procedure. And this, of course, is the Winchester Star, whose column. Has anyone not read Leonore's column in the Winchester Star? I thought not. And, of course, we have here, Leonore, hold this for me, will you? We have here, oh, no, that's the Winchester Star. Oh, we forgot to put in the Woburn Times. So my apologies, the Woburn Times. We just forgot to put it in today's excitement, but that would have been in the packet. Can you all see this? Life Magazine, March 22nd, 1948. Now this is a collector's item. They put a winner on, but you know who really is on this? Leonore, open it up. Who is it? Do you know? You don't know?
Oh, it's Thomas Dewey.
Thomas Dewey, will you believe it? What do you think about that? A Republican, too. All right.
He's gone too.
Now, let's see, Leonore. What else have we got here? I'll ask you to hold that. Oh, a money bag. A money bag. Okay. All right. Not much money in it. Not much money in it. Okay. Oh, well, you know, Leonore, let me tell them about what you do. Leonore collects all the money at every event. The dances, the all money bags. Leonore, she says. The dances, the eating together program, and she has stashed a few dollars away in this bag. Now, somebody said she was very honest. I don't believe it. Is anybody here from the Finance Committee? What about Chad Mora?
If it's
Chad,
in the
where are
bag,
you?
it probably came from the State House.
He goes, everybody! Winchester doesn't need any money. Now, Now, let's see what we've got. Okay, Leonor, pull this. Oh, wait a minute. Let's take this out. Okay. Leonor, you're always looking for these. Yeah. And Leonor, you're always looking for that. Okay, all right. Now, let's get, thank you. Azalea Bedelia is helping us here. Okay. Leonor, the Winchester Seniors Association had a raffle, and they raffled away the Ford Escort. There was a booby prize, and this is it. Here you go. There's Leonor's booby prize. She needs a car.
My car has seen a few summers and winters. It's 1973.
Is it a Torino? No. It's something.
Grand Torino.
There we go. Okay, that is a star. And Leonor, you are a star.
Oh, bless.
Hold on to that, I haven't finished yet. And Ronnie and Nancy know that you're a Sagittarius. And they set that up from Washington, especially for you. Okay? When a star is born, they possess a thing or two. One of them is this: they have the power to make a wish come true. When you wish upon a star, makes no difference who you are. Anything your heart desires will come to you. If your heart is in your dream, your request is too extreme. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true. Fate is kind, she brings to those who love the sweet fulfillment of their secret longing. Like a bolt out of the blue, fate steps in and sees you through. When you wish upon a star, your dreams come true.
There's a special feeling with cable. You've got it, and it shows. Cable gives a choice to you. You've got it, and it shows. It's the latest news for you. The best in sports and movies too. Whenever you need it, you've got it, and it shows. You've got the best on Continental. On quality shows. You'll find friendly people here. You got it, and it shows. We'll show how much we care about you. You got it, and it shows. We got the latest shows to view. Everything we do for you. Whenever you need it, you've got it, and it shows. You've got the best on Continental. On quality shows.
Through tragic coincidence, cancer has plagued this family. It took Frank D'Amato in 1961. It took Patricia Brown in 1974. It took Serafino Gentile in 1982. But in 1986, it did not take Deborah Gentile and thousands of others, thanks to research supported by the American Cancer Society. And thanks to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce two members of Lenore's family, her nephew and her niece, Stephen and Jennifer Rich. Come on up.
Leona, Leonora, Lenore, Leonore. Many names for the wonderful person we call Oni. How lucky can a niece and nephew be? She has been such an influence and an inspiration in our lives. Her love, devotion, concern, humor, wit, and support have been such a part of the family. It's just impossible to think of growing up without her. She has followed through so many phases of our lives. From the early days when we would spend an evening just coloring, or having her read to us, and no one could make a story come alive like Oni. To our college days and now our careers, her interest has always been with us, 100%. Imagine having someone like Oni with you every step of the way. How lucky we have been. It is a proud night for this family, but we have been proud of Oni for all of our lives. After all, she is the best of the best, and we are so fortunate to be blessed with our very dear and loving Oni. Thank you, Oni. We love you.
Well, Jennifer, after that, I really can't add much to that, I'll tell you. I feel like an American Express ad. You know who I am? You know, what am I doing here? This is a tremendous honor for myself and the family, and for, of course, the opportunity to just say so much about what Oni's, we call her Oni, as Jennifer had said, has meant to us growing up. And I think that Winchester should be very proud to have such an outstanding citizen. And the accomplishments she's made are just incredible, both in our lives as well as the community in general. And I really can't add any more than that. I'm very short-winded, so I'll turn this back over to John. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot, Steve.
Okay, John.
Appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is a longtime resident of Winchester, an only child, Sam Rotundi. And Sam is sitting over here to the right. He was a student of Lenore's, and he wanted to make a presentation, but I had to promise to recognize Mr. Rotundi, Senior Mr. Rotundi and Mrs. Rotundi, because if I don't, they spotted my car coming in. So, Mr. Rotundi, you want to stand up so everybody can see Mr. Rotundi. Mr. Rotundi is one of a representative group that's here tonight, and that's parents, in his case of 13, but parents of students who went to the Washington School. And maybe if everybody who had a child or has a child that goes to Washington School would raise their hand, it might be a good indication. And one of her better pupils, we will meet later in the evening, one of the less fortunate, but one of her better pupils went from Winchester on to Brown University and then on to law school and then represented the town of Winchester in the state senate. Sam Rotundi.
you very much, John, Mrs. Rich, and members of the head table, and friends. I can't think of any individual who would have prompted me to leave a very wonderful private life that I've been enjoying lately to get anywhere near a microphone again than you, Mrs. Rich. Miss. You know, Dr. Rich to me is a little strange because we always knew her as the principal in those days. I came here to honor Miss Rich, but as I walked through the hall and saw so many of your faces, and as I read the past recipients' names, and if you look at that program and take a look at those names, and as well take a look at some of the people sitting at your tables, you realize that this is a night to be very proud of being a part of a very special community. Winchester is not just a quiet residential place near a lake. It is made up of a very rich mosaic that is comprised of individuals like you and these past recipients and Miss Rich, who have dedicated themselves to such an extent that their very personalities and professions became interwoven into what was Winchester. And I guess I feel that way more tonight than ever because I did grow up here, I went to school here, I represented this town, and proudly. But now I'm making a living here, and I'm raising children here. So I'm rounding out that experience that we all go through, and I see this town in a wholly different way. And it may be in the middle of Kathy Alexander's play, or the tree lighting ceremony that this chamber does such a great job with every year, or evenings like tonight, that my consciousness is honestly raised about how fortunate we all are to be a part of this very, very special community. Thank you. I wanted to say that in reference to Miss Rich and Washington School, that was a very important part of my life and the lives of all my 12 brothers and sisters. When John said only child, my father said, who the hell are the other 12, for heaven's sakes? But she actually taught and/or was the principal of each and every one of not only my immediate siblings, but also several of my nephews and nieces. And I think what I'll always remember about her was the very measured way in which she spoke to you. Her very voice. This is off, I think. But I can speak loud. Her very voice, the cadence of her voice, the very self-assuring way in which she would make you feel better about that day. I will always remember her incentive, if you will, to each of us about the importance of education. And when you think about it, 13 kids, different generations, different personalities. She deserves this award by just dealing with us. And yet she was able to bring about a fresh perspective to each of us, reach down somewhere inside and present a fresh and new perspective to each of us relative to the future. And I'll leave you with just this one thought. Education was not all she dealt with us. One day, a very untimely thing occurred in my family. I lost my grandmother. And until that point, I never was introduced to the concept that there was indeed something called mortality, you see. I was a fourth grader, and we had to leave school to go to the ceremony. But I didn't want to go to that because I didn't want to confront it. She took me in her office, and I'm sure by her look in her eyes, she remembers it very well. And she talked to me not about death, she talked to me about winters that always turned into springs. And I swear to you that I have remembered that concept, and it has been important to me today and throughout my life as it was then. And that's the specialness of Miss Rich. And I want to say to her that if I haven't said it before, thank you, we love you, I love you. Thanks.
I love you.
This is my family.
Thank you very much, Sam. Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Rich has played an important role in our educational system, and she has also played a very important role in her church, the Winchester Congregational Church. And at this time, I would like to recognize some folks from the Congregational Church. Come on up, or come on down, as the case may be. I hate to tell religious jokes, but they remind me of Episcopalians. They're discussing it. Come on up. Reverend?
You have to understand, John, we're Congregationalists. We work by consensus. On your tables, I hope most of you have found a parody on Waltzing Matilda. It should be on a yellow or white sheet. I'm not sure there are enough for each person, but hopefully there are enough for every other person, and you can share. There are a few extra copies here, I think. Can you find, does anyone not have access, or any table not have access to anything like this? Okay. What we have tried to do is to take this familiar song and put it into Winchester experience that has to do with our good friend Lenore. And the chorus is to be sung by us all in just a bit. And we will try to sing the verses, and if you want to sing along with us, that's fine too. But it doesn't scan all that well, frankly, but we did our best. And we're grateful to Betty McAdam as accompanist, who will, let's see if we can sing the chorus through twice. See if we get the scanning there. Here we go. Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Lenore, do come a waltzing Lenore with me. And she sang and she wrote and she taught from dawn to setting sun. Do come a waltzing Lenore with me. Let's try it one more time. Waltzing Lenore, waltzing Lenore, do come a waltzing Lenore with me. And she sang and she wrote and she taught from dawn to setting sun. Do come a waltzing Lenore with me. That sounds pretty good. I know you'll do better when we get to it. Now, we'd like to tell you a little bit behind the four verses, so we'll turn to Peg Hodgson, who is going to introduce this part of it.
Lenore, do you remember when we attended a choir potluck supper up at the home of one of our choir members in the Winchester Estates? You had to leave a little early, so started home before the rest of us. It was raining, so visibility was not too good. And you were in an unfamiliar territory. Soon you realized you were lost. Eventually, you recognized Wildwood Street and thought you were home free. But at just about that time, a police cruiser pulled you over. He came up and started to ask if you were having a problem. Then realized it was his former school principal. Oh, Dr. Rich, are you okay? Your car was sort of weaving on the street. You assured him that you were not pixelated. So he let you drive off. However, you had a feeling that he followed you home at a safe distance.
This is a litany, Lenore, as in church we ask, do you remember when? And your response is, I remember it well. Okay, Lenore, do you remember when you and I traveled together in search of history? Do you remember introducing me to the Congregational Christian Historical Society, which is that church history group of ours convinced that while the world cannot be saved by history, it certainly can never be saved without it? And do you remember how we talked and walked and listened and peered into all the closets of our church history all over New England, shaking even a few skeletons in the process, which you never talked about and no one else ever heard about because you always had appreciation for every honest effort, whatever the result? Do you remember that? I remember it well. Okay. We have to help Lenore on her remembering here. Now, do you remember this? That when, as church historian, you told our new members about that Sunday service years ago when the organ died in the middle of worship, and no one knew why, until they went into the pipes and they discovered that the church organ was powered by water piped up from the Aberjona River. and how an errant eel had slipped through the net at the water intake, perhaps lured by the sound of Mozart in the sanctuary, and eeled its way up the pipe and into the organ, and how on entering into the organ itself it died while listening to the glorious strains of Mozart's Requiem. What a way to go for man, woman, or eel. Do you remember that?
I remember it well.
Okay, one more here too. Do you remember when your love of music, and I suspect, noticing by the way in which you greeted certain sexes as you came in this evening, your love of men as well, how you volunteered for the tenor section of our church choir, and how we always seem to be short of tenors in our choir, and you took up the challenge with gusto, and how one day you had so much gusto, in fact, that you tripped down the chancel steps, which brought to an end your tenor career, but not your interest in tenors, I noticed. Do you remember that?
I remember it.
And finally, do you remember how you loved to pilot that beautiful Chris Craft boat back and forth across Booth Bay Harbor in Maine, taking an elderly gentleman for an afternoon on the water or for a short trip for groceries in the village? And do you remember that day you piloted the boat right onto a rock and emerged red-faced but smiling as ever? And since you've always been able to laugh at yourself instead of others, I wonder to this day what your first words were when you realized that instead of in a dock, you were parked this gentleman's expensive toy on a rock. All I know is that it brought to an end your dream of becoming another Captain Ahab, searching for the great white whale along the rock-bound coast of Maine. Do you remember what your first words were?
Oh dear.
Oh dear. One of the things that Lenore has always done for us is she has a beautiful hand. Not only does she express herself well in words, but her calligraphy is excellent. And she's always written at least since I've been pastor, since 1971 of this church, she's always written the certificates. And one of the children who was confirmed into the church has now in turn developed that calligraphic skill, and her grandmother wants to present something to you.
Leonore, so many things, nice things have been said about you tonight. I can't add anything to it, but I hope everyone realizes what a powerful word friend is, because that applies to you. Now this is from your church, and Marjorie did this for me. And she enjoyed doing it for you.
Very.
Would you like to read it, or do you want me to read it?
Why don't you read it? I think it'd be easy with the microphone.
It says, in appreciation, this certificate is presented to Dr. Leonore Rich in grateful appreciation for faithful service to the First Congregational Church as steward of our faith and with her words and wisdom. May our gratitude be renewed in memory, and God's blessings be yours for the years to come. Presented this 18th day of May, 1988, with love from her church family.
Now it's all of our time. Now I think you'll see what these verses refer to. Shall we start out with a chorus and then sing it straight through? Waltzing Lenore, waltzing Lenore, do come a waltzing Lenore with me. And she sang and she rode and she taught from dawn to setting sun. Do come a waltzing Lenore with me. Once a jolly teacher taught the children of our town under the roof of our Washington school, and she worked and she slaved and she won the hearts of all her brood. Do come a waltzing Lenore with me. Waltzing Lenore, waltzing Lenore, do come a waltzing Lenore with me. And she sang and she wrote and she taught from dawn to setting sun. Do come a waltzing Lenore with me. Blessed with the magic of sympathy and love. We were going to waltz Lenore around here, but due to the lateness of the hour, we'll forego that. But we waltz with you in spirit.
Pleasure. Right. Thank you very much. Very well done, very well done. Thank you very much. Lenore, our next speaker we had a little problem with. We tried to get Congressman Markey, but he couldn't make it here, and we tried to get Senator Kraus, and he couldn't make it because of another commitment, so we've got Representative, what's his name, Saltmarsh. He was a little bit late. He had another presentation to give, and he made another speech earlier. I had a friend of mine record it, just so you know what you're in for. It was a bomb. Whip also was a student of Lenore's. He was a homegrown boy, grew up in Highland Avenue. The first school he went to was the Winchester Highland School, right up at the end of Mount Vernon. You take a left about a block. Right after he got out of there, he bought the property. Tore down the school, had it made parkland, and the value of his parents' house went up significantly. He went from there up to the Washington School, where he attended 5th grade under your tutelage in 1941, 1942, and 1943. He went from there to Winchester High School, graduated from Winchester High School, and went on as a hockey player to Boston College. Those of you might remember those were the years when the hockey players didn't wear helmets or take college boards or necessarily graduate. He went on from there to the State House. I think you left this here. He's got a rush tonight, Lenore. He's got to get back in there. They're voting on the tax bill this evening, I understand. And he said if I could get him on in a hurry, he could get back in there to vote against Mike Dukakis. So we're going to take our time here, Whip. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce to you a good friend of mine and a good friend of a lot of folks in this room, and I know a good friend of yours, Lenore, a representative from the great and general court, Whip Saltmarsh.
I want to thank John. Probably shut the mic off. You can tell that doesn't work.
You got to move your lips.
How about that? I'll give him a hand, huh?
I got to go out.
You want to go out? You want to leave? Sam Rotundi, you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? I'm not going to sing. Sam Rotundi mentioned about the previous recipients being mentioned, I guess, in your program tonight. He mentioned what a great group they are or were, and I have to really differ with Sam. When he was in the legislature, he and I got along pretty well, but tonight I'm going to take issue with him because most of those recipients went with their salt. You know, there were 7. I see the distinguished gentleman, my predecessor in the legislature, Harry Chadwick, he was deserving of that when he went. He was the first recipient of this award, and he was a person who really deserved to get the award, to get the first award. And I want to thank the Chamber tonight, particularly under the presidency of Master Saltmarsh and the group who picked Dr. Rich, because I think she's going to bring back some integrity to the recipients of this group. Now, you heard Clarence Beauregard up here tonight. He got Man of the Year just because he had a garden up in back of his house. That's all. Harry Sheffalo got it last year. What has he done? He's cheated everybody in this town on their plumbing bills for years. And he's still doing it, and he's 80 some odd years old. Gus Kaufman, I don't know if he's here or not, he got it because he was the head of the fundraising drive at the hospital. You know, but he got a percentage of that. He was retired as a doctor, but he got a cut, and they gave him an award. Jake Shasha, he was our town engineer. He was a previous recipient. If anybody screwed this town up with their streets and water lines, it was Jake Shasha, but they gave him an award. Now, our Toastmaster tonight, he received it, I think, a number of years ago. And do you really think he deserved it? He's made a mess of our town meetings. He's been moderator. I served on the Board of Selectmen with him. He was the chairman. It was the worst run board I've ever sat in my life. It's a wonder they haven't torn the town hall down. Masha's a member of the committee, and you ought to see some of the things they found over there with John's name on them.
People are not only living longer today, they're living better. The average age of these players is 73 years old.
Come on, man, you're swinging like an old lady.
The remarkable thing isn't that they still play baseball, but that they all had cancer, and they all survived. 1 out of 2 people who gets cancer gets well. Help.
Well, some of you who have been here before, you're familiar with this because we're approaching June 1st. A number of years ago, unfortunately, John's mother sold her house to him. And those of us who have been close to the family have been just devastated by it ever since. This sale took place on June 1st, about 5 years ago. And the reason I mention tonight that it's a sad occasion, because since that time, Madeline Sullivan, John's mother, has been paying him rent. And the rents are exorbitant. But the reason I want to point out about John weaving through those tables with 3 glasses of wine, which he plunked down in front of his mother, because she's going to get a notice very soon for rent's going up June 1st. And he's going to tell her tonight when they get home that she's all oiled up from all that wine, that, Mom, you're going to get an increase of $100 in June. And she'll say, that's okay, John. You're my loving son. You've taken care of me. But if she wakes up tomorrow morning, that hangover's gone. It's going to be another sad day, man. But I want to thank the Chamber again for recognizing Dr. Rich. Some of us have had the good fortune to go to the Washington School, and I know those who put their hands up here tonight, and there were quite a few. They wouldn't even have gone anywhere if it wasn't for Dr. Rich. They would have been on the street. I can really thank Dr. Rich, and I've told him many times, I'd have probably been in jail if it hadn't been her tutelage.
Good move.
John said, good move. Talk about moving. I'm going to tell you a little story since he opened up a little bit. John. John and Bob Deering, our newly elected chairman of the Board of Selectmen, had a discussion a short while ago as to what they were going to do tonight, how the program was going to be run, what Bob would say and what John would say and so forth. And John doesn't know this, but that I know it, but I'm going to tell it to you. I think you deserve to know what some of the things that are done in this town, particularly by your moderator. John and Bob Deering went into Boston to a discotheque. And this discotheque had mirrors all the way around the room, completely around it. They sat down, they had a drink. And they had 2 drinks and 3 drinks and so on. And after a while, they got pretty well pie-eyed, and you know how they began to feel after about the 5th or 6th drink. So John said to Bob, he said, you know, there were 2 guys over there that looked like you and I. And Bob Deering said to John, he said, he's right, they do look like us, you know that? So he said, gee, we ought to send them over a drink. But he said, before we do that, Bob said to John, I'll go over and ask them if they want a drink. So Bob Deering got up, and he started to go over, and John said, wait a minute. Bobby said, they're coming over. That's our moderator and our chairman of the Board of Selectmen. I just like to say to you, as we go through life, there are people who leave an impression. Sometimes it's a school teacher. Sometimes it's somebody you've been associated with in business. Sometimes it's somebody who is a member of the clergy. But I think we all, sitting here tonight, can look back and there's someone in your life who you never forget. They've made an impression, they've done a lot for you, and it's something you just carry on right through your life, day by day, and many, many times, even if you move away from where that person lived, that just comes back into your mind, and you see that person, and you remember that person by what he or she has done to make an impact on your life. And standing here tonight as your representative and a former pupil of Dr. Rich, I think there was one person that I can remember in my education, this community, and that's going from kindergarten to the senior high school and on to graduate. If there was one person that made an impact on me, and I've never forgotten since the time I had her as my 5th grade teacher, it was Dr. Rich. I think that the Winchester school system can be proud, as all of you here are tonight, to have had someone who has dedicated her entire life to helping others. You know, she retired just a few years ago from teaching, many years ago by number. But you know, she's worked just as hard, just as long with the senior citizens for her church and many other things she's done. I think anybody who has spent his life or her life working for the welfare, helping other people, it's the greatest contribution he or she can make to mankind. And Dr. Rich has made that contribution from the time she set foot on this earth. There's nobody I've ever known who's so dedicated to fellow man than Dr. Rich. I have a citation from Governor Dukakis. As you know, he's somewhat busy now, and he couldn't be here this evening, but I talked to him about coming, and he gave me a citation to bring and read to you from Governor Dukakis, and I'd like to read it. It goes as follows. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Michael S. Dukakis, Governor. To Dr. Lenore Rich, recipient of the Winchester Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award, 1988, which is deserving recognition by all the citizens of Massachusetts. Witness my hand and seal of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, this 18th day of May, in the year 1988, Michael S. Dukakis, Governor. Incidentally, there's no charge for these this year. It's an election year. Governor Dukakis is leading the country in fundraising. And the other thing is, I'm not running again. As John said, I've made mine. Incidentally, when I saw this money coming out of the bag, the lost and found bag, Dr. Rich happened to be a tenant in a piece of property that I own, and I often wondered, every time the rent came, she said, would you come down, Whip? And I'd get down, and she'd just peel this money off in cash. She did that every single month. Now I know why the Congregational Church is a little short on their income. I have a resolution from the House of Representatives, which if you'd come up, Doctor, I'd like to present this to you and read it. John, you take the trash, thank you. I'll tell you about that later.
You're almost done.
You think I am? Not until January 3rd. Incidentally, with John prompting me saying I'm almost done, this is the last time I will have the good fortune of appearing before you as your state representative, and I think if I were to pick one time and one person that I could present this resolution to, it would be Dr. Rich. I don't think there's a more worthy person in this town or any other community who was worthy of what all the praise she's received tonight. And as I say, this is my last trip here, so to speak, and it's a great honor that I'm to read this and present this to Dr. Rich. Resolutions congratulating Dr. Lenore M. Rich in receiving the Winchester Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award for 1988. Whereas Dr. Lenore M. Rich has been selected as Winchester Chamber of Commerce Outstanding Citizen of the Year Award for 1988. Whereas Dr. Rich served 26 years as principal of the George Washington School. And whereas she served the town on many committees, including a committee to form a town council on aging, one of the 3 speakers to acquaint the Board of Selectmen about the need for a council on aging, a committee to obtain mentors for school children of Winchester who have special interest, a fundraising committee to obtain $1,200,000 for the building and addition of the Jenks Center. Quite a difference. If you'd have given us the money, we'd have had it. Whereas Dr. Rich served as president of the Winchester Seniors Association and currently writes a weekly half-page for the Winchester Star as Senior News. And whereas Dr. Rich's contribution to education in Winchester is unsurpassed, as her current service to the Winchester Seniors Association, her friendship, wit, and guidance have helped countless numbers of students as they are now helping them seniors. Therefore, be it resolved that the Massachusetts House of Representatives hereby congratulates Dr. Lenore Rich upon the memorable occasion of her selection as Outstanding Citizen of the Year by the Winchester Chamber of Commerce and extends to her its sincere best wishes for continued success in all endeavors. Be it further resolved that a copy of these resolutions be forwarded by the Clerk of the House of Representatives, signed George Kibarian, Speaker of the House, Robert McQueen, Clerk of the House, offered by Representative Whip Saltmarsh.
Thanks a lot. I thought it was going to be January 3rd before you get done.
Well, I'll see you Friday night at Lucia's, John. After me.
Well, who's taking you?
You are.
As usual, Whip, we were underwhelmed. Whip, you forgot your cane. You're walking better now that you cured that drinking problem. I'll think of something before you leave. Ladies and gentlemen, we've talked to folks that have been associated with Lenore in her church and here in the community. And now I'd like to introduce 2 folks, one at a time, who have been associated with her in her professional endeavors. And the first is Mr. George Flynn. Mr. Flynn is the principal of the Ambrose School here in Winchester. Mr. Flynn, sir.
Dr. Rich, guests,
Dr. Rich has many, many stories about school where she is the victim and children are the heroes. I'd like to pass along a story where Lenore is the hero and one of her prized pupils is the villain. But I must caution you ahead of time, would a principal lie? Would a principal embellish upon a story? Lenore, you know, taught her children very well. She coached them in the Puritan ethic. She encouraged them to do things over and over until they got it right. Go back and finish it, add to it, change it, make it better. Show your growth, show your achievement. Do it again until it's right. Lenore is a great teacher. One of her special and prized pupils didn't always do things quite right. He didn't always do them the way they were supposed to be done, Lenore. And she spotted this early in his career in school. He was what you might call creative, a divergent thinker. Well, one day he wrote his initials on the walls in the boys' room. And this was a terrible, terrible thing. Well, year after year went by, and somehow these initials survived. And there they were on the walls of Washington School when I eventually followed Lenore as principal of that great school. Generations of children looked up and saw these initials on the wall, SS. They wondered, they puzzled, who could this great person have been? This man among men, this boy among boys, who took it upon himself to create there at the Washington School. Well, we were all puzzled. Who could possibly have done this? And had he achieved, had he been successful, had he attained high honors in his endeavors in life and his position here in the state of Massachusetts? Yes, yes, SS is immortalized at Washington School. And he's the source of many of Lenore's wonderful, wonderful stories. Would a principal lie? Would a principal embellish on the achievements or the growth that a child had made? Well, just before the Washington School closed, he came back, and true to the Puritan ethic of do it over, do it again, make sure it's right, he came back and he added to those initials of SS, the Honorable SS. I just couldn't believe the luck when Whip Saltmarsh preceded me at this stage. God is indeed good, Reverend Davis. He is indeed good. And thank you very much, Mr. Sullivan. Lenore Rich, all in the Winchester School Department admire you, enjoy you, and love you greatly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Since that time, I understand he learned how to spell the whole name. I saw the initials in the State House once, too. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker is a very, very good friend of mine, a guy who taught physics in Winchester High School when I was there and was the hockey coach, and has gone on to distinguish himself throughout the state, and I would suggest maybe even throughout the nation as one of the outstanding high school educators in the country, Frank Finnegan. Frank is the chairman of the science department of the Winchester High School, and incidentally, 1 week from tonight, Frank is going to go through the same thing as he retires from the Winchester school system. Frank Finnegan.
Thank you, John. I think in my last official act as Director of Science in the Winchester Schools, I'll do something that Dr. McLean, I think, will agree with. could you all take about a half a minute just to stand up, turn around, and sit down again so you can dilate your capillaries? It's always, you've been sitting there for 2 hours, and even the time that we can concentrate does go on that. So how about just standing up for a second?
This is when Frank's son does the wallets in the crowd.
Now if you'll all sit down. Actually, how could anyone be asleep after such, things from John and Whit and George and Sam? Actually, I probably know John as well as most of you, having had him many, many years ago. I did recognize the tuxedo that Whit pointed out. That's the same one he wore to the senior prom back in 1957. And actually, I don't know whether John advertised for a wife, if you recall, in the Wall Street Journal. Very few people know this. And 35 fellows wrote in and offered him theirs. And I can't help remembering Sam Rotundi in the last election. We all worked so hard for him. He was holding a press conference during the election time, and I can remember one reporter asking him, Senator Rotundi, would you consult with the interest that controlled you before making any big decisions? And Sam looked around and he said, of course, but why bring my wife into these discussions? And of course, I'm probably the only one here that didn't have Whip Saltmarsh in school. If he spent, what was it you said, John?
3 years.
1935, 34, and 36 in the 5th grade. I think he got to the high school 1 year before I did, Whip. But honestly, I could have used you. You were a great hockey player, no matter what this fellow says. And I wish, John, you'd give the stick back that we gave you at this meeting 4 years ago, the hockey stick, because the school committee claims they need that money to balance their budget. Now, actually, obviously we're all off the subject. I happen to have had access to some of the comments that Leonore made at report card time while both a principal and a teacher. And it seems that the system of school grading was designed to encourage parents and students, even though there might not be much there. Now, Leonore gave the ultimate and strained encouragement to what was otherwise a very poor report when she wrote about one of our students, quote, Ed contributes nicely to group singing by his helpful listening. And she wrote about one Winchesterite, better left unnamed, quote, Betty excels in initiative, group integration, and responsiveness. Now, she added, if she could only learn to read and write. And another one, of course, this was, I thought, fairly good. Not only is Joe the worst behaved boy in my class, but he has perfect attendance. But the classic was when an irate parent called the school one day. The parent had been planning a party, and she had called to get a list of the boys in the school. Somehow or other, a girl was included in the list that was sent back. And the parent was irate. The next day, I won't say Leonore did this, but there was a sign appearing above the switchboard in the office, quote, no sex will be given out over the phone. Now, Leonore, you know, in the many years that it has been my good fortune to know you, I have always felt there is one quality that singles you out from all of the other individuals that I've known, and it's your ability to involve people. And those people who have felt your touch, they're very fortunate people. I'm reminded of a very beautiful poem. It's old. I do not know the author's name, but it reflects my feelings far better than I can. And it goes something like this. An old man traveling a lone highway came at the evening cold and gray to a chasm vast and deep and wide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fears for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, you are wasting your time with building here. You never again will pass this way. Your journey will end with the closing day. You have crossed a chasm deep and wide. Why build a bridge at eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the way I have come, he said, there followed after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This stream, which has been as naught to me, to the fair-haired youth might a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I am building this bridge for him. Lenora continued to build those bridges.
Thank you very much, Frank. I think two pretty good guys and representative of our educators here in Winchester, and I thank you both for coming. I should advise some of the men that are in that general area, though, that trick that Frank pulled where everybody stood up and moves around, when he does that, George flips around and hits the wallets. So if you're in the general area there, you might want to check. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, let me introduce to you the chairman of the Winchester Board of Selectmen, Bob Darin. Bob.
Thank you, John. When I got here tonight, I sort of looked at the order of speakers, and I was fortunate enough not to follow Representative Saltmarsh, because it is tough to follow the Abbott and Costello show. And one more note that Representative Saltmarsh forgot to mention, the night that John and I went out, I had to pick up the tab, and the joint was owned by the representative. Dr. Rich, Reverend, distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen. I first met Dr. Rich about 3 years ago when I became involved in the fundraising for this beautiful building that we're in tonight. And it was after about 2 or 3 meetings that I attended that I realized the dedication and the commitment and enthusiasm that Dr. Rich had for the seniors in this town. And I believe that the seniors in this town can be very proud of her. One of the qualities that I'll always remember is her outlook in life. And this came to light one night when we were meeting. And as I mentioned before, I was part of this fundraising committee, and it was made up of Norina Kari, Charlie Price, myself, and Howell. And we're sitting around the table discussing what we're going to do for this fundraising, and there's some decision had to be made. I can't remember right now, and Dr. Rich says, well, we'll have to consult the young kids. And tonight when we were sitting here, we were talking about the last time we met, and she says, Jay, I'd like to get all the names of those young kids. So on behalf of another group of young kids, namely the Board of Selectmen of the town of Winchester, I'd like to present this citation to Dr. Rich tonight, and I'll read it. The entire membership extends the very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Be it hereby known to all that the Board of Selectmen of the town of Winchester hereby offers its sincerest congratulations to Dr. Rich in recognition of Citizen of the Year Award, given this 18th day of May 1988.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, we have at this time another former student, Marilyn Preston. There she is. She also lives in the vicinity of that park property that Whip dedicated and enjoyed the appreciation of property values in that neighborhood.
Dr. Rich, her family, and friends. Tonight, I have the honor of representing Miss Rich's 5th grade class at the Washington School from 1937. From the first day we entered that class, we knew we had a very special teacher, and we have never forgotten her. She was an inspiration to us then, and 50 years later, she's still an inspiration to us. Joining me in paying tribute to our favorite teacher are 4 other students who were in that class from 1937. Joe Arico, would you step forward, please? Marilyn Walsh Teal, Emily Hanson Turtelot, and George Richburg.
Oh, very nice.
Wait a minute, I think she wants to get a picture of you.
Oh, all right. Okay, where would you want us, over there or here or what?
Do you want them to
Just
just turn around?
Okay.
Let's get around. And I have one more apple to present. This one is what they call a keeper if you're ever in a race. On behalf of the hundreds of other 5th grade students who cannot be here tonight for various reasons, we are going to present you with this marble apple, which is a very small token of our very great esteem. We love you too.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know you can't, the lights don't do this justice. This is a beautiful red marble apple. I don't know if you can see that. It really is beautiful.
I won't bite it.
See, we just had a major revelation up here while they were talking. Whip leaned over to me and said that, you know, all those years they thought those were my initials. That SS, he says, that was the girl I liked, Cindy Smith. Real shabby. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time I'd like to introduce Dr. Martha Grenzebach. I think, and she's going to show some slides, I believe.
In the beginning, there was a little girl named Lenore, looking out at a big world where she was to make a difference. She hasn't changed much, has she? She soon grew up to learn to drive at a very early age. And she's been communicating with friendly police officers ever since. This car, I think she named True Love because it never ran smooth. Many years later, flying down Highland Avenue on Route
to a meeting. It was probably in the Grand Torino. She was pulled over by a young police officer who happened to have gone to the Washington School. Dr. Rich, she scolded, "You may write on the blackboard 100 times. I will not exceed the speed limit on Highland Avenue." Travel for Lenore was always exhilarating and challenging, and no less a challenge for the people with whom she came in contact. She was always an ambassador of goodwill, and whether she spoke the language or not, she managed to communicate friendship and goodwill and joie de vivre. In Rome, at the American school outside of Rome, looking for inspiration, counseling the director of the school, at the American Embassy in Rome, in Hawaii, in Spain, in Mexico. No, she's not in one of those skirts. On the high seas, she graced the captain's parties. Isn't that elegant? Enjoyed the sun deck. And when the rest of us were either hiding in the bathroom or behind the bar, Lenore participated, as she would dutifully, in the lifeboat drill. No, it isn't Dolly Parton, that's our Lenore. When we attended the National Elementary Principals Conference in Las Vegas, we stayed at the Sahara. And as you can see here in small print, it says the National Education Association. In large print, the All Topless Review. No, Lenore wasn't topless. But we were invited to go to the topless show, and I implored Lenore, "Let's go. We may never be invited again. We may never have another chance in our whole lives, so let's go. But please, Lenore, don't go." Let's try to be very sophisticated. And I think we were. Her retirement party, and the rest of this, as they say, is history. Our Lady. Good evening.
want to thank our pianist, Jean Loudon, a former member of the school system, and the rest is beyond her control. The year is 1929. The setting is a school. At age 19, our star arrives, a teacher born to rule. Just 4 feet 9, but full of spunk. Learning was her passion. An artist at the chalkboard. Geography she had fashioned. Those we call the good old days when discipline was fluent. But boys were as they are today, and here we have a truant.
She never raised a ruler. She was only just my size. But you always got the message from just looking in her eyes.
I never watched the clock at all. She captured my attention. The school bell rang, but I stayed on, and I never got detention.
Newton was our rival then, as towns like that will be. Their school system, they thought was A+. They wanted Miss Rich, you see.
They lured her there with $1 a propaganda pitch. But homeward bound, she quickly found, was really being rich. She supervised for just a bit, and soon our Saugus Belle had Noonan School in Washington completely in her shell.
The stories about this lady we could tell throughout the night. So we mention one or two. If she says, that's all right. As principal, she'd just drop in to watch you teach your class. But guess who was the teacher, friends, before an hour passed?
That pocket book, forevermore, it must contain some treasure. It's crossed the ocean, oftentimes, hope that he can measure. More than he can measure. A baby coming out at sea, the captain was a wreck. Dr. Rich, bring your black bag. Report below the deck.
Her car, she claimed, was ill-behaved. No discipline, no master. She stepped upon the trusty brake. The car responded by going faster. At Lincoln School, she backed up quick. One motorcycle quickly hit. Distraught policeman, alas, alas, she says, don't worry, I'll buy his gas.
She took retirement from our schools, but never left our town. A new career the senior sent, she quickly found. Making music, writing more, always helpful, that's Lenore.
A Renaissance woman, from school days till now. Leonore is the leader. She'll show us how to honor our town, to cherish this life, to maximize triumph and minimize strife.
We've a report card to hand you, just printed today, and in most every subject, get a straight A. Your performance is not perfect. You're too fond of fun. The classroom gets laughing. You infect everyone. And under comments you'll read the thing that's most true. You've made this town rich. Lenore, knowing you. Please have seated. It's in the program. In the program. School day, school day, we're all going rule day. Reading and writing and arithmetic, are to the tune of the victory stick. We sing with all the musical, harmony is our principle. And we love you, yeah. When all we are rich, so we knew. Let's give those folks a real hand, ladies and gentlemen.
Some of those folks have to rush out there on a weekend pass. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, let me present to you once again the chairperson of the Winchester Chamber of Commerce, the president of the Winchester Chamber of Commerce, Marcia Saltmarsh. Marcia.
Thank you, John. You might wonder who had written those wonderful words to school days. She's right here in our midst, and wouldn't you know, she is was a school committee lady, Jeannie Wildman. This envelope was just given to me a minute or two ago, and I really feel it should be read at this time. This says, "Dear Dr. Rich, it is rare when two people come forward out of a caring to honor another who also cares and has devoted a lifetime of unselfish service to the community. For the person so honored, it is one of life's most touching and memorable moments. For the community is a source of pride and reason to express its gratitude. Mary and John Murphy, two people very special to you, two people also known for their humanitarian acts and community service, have chosen to so honor you. They have selected a naming opportunity in your honor in the new birthing unit at Winchester Hospital. We think you will agree that this is the ultimate living tribute." There is more. Mr. and Mrs. Murphy have selected the nurse's postpartum area in the new unit to be designated in your name. This is particularly symbolic as you have given your life's work to the youth of our community in this area will be used for continuing education of staff and families in the birthing process. Your hospital, where you have also given of your time and love over the years, is very pleased to have this tribute to you and grateful to the Murphys for their kind and thoughtful generosity. We humbly join in saluting you in this honor and are awed by the standards that you have set for all of us. Over the next 8 to 10 weeks, the birthing unit will be completed. At that time, Mary and John Murphy and we will invite you to visit this new center. We will officially dedicate the plaque in your honor. Yours truly, James F. McDonough, MD, Eugene E. Lubier, President, Winchester Hospital.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have heard all of these things being said, and I just could not seem to think that I was the one about whom they were being said. This evening is certainly an outstanding highlight in my life. One of the most difficult things that people have to do is to keep a secret. And all the people who knew about this great evening kept their mouths completely sealed so that not one single bit of information reached me. It was a complete surprise. So if there are any state secrets to be taken care of, please turn them over to this group of wonderful friends. There are times when words fail, when one is given such an honor as this. No credit goes to me for this evening, for this wonderful award. Long years ago, the school department invested faith in me as a young teacher by hiring me. And I've been privileged to be a part of the school department and see my children mature and make a huge success of their lives. And I bask in the glory of their achievements. The town that I love extended privileges to me to become involved in committees of great importance. The forming of the Council on Aging, the Human Services Committee, that has been dormant since Proposition 2.5 came into the picture, and the History Committee that reprinted Chapman's book and produced a supplement for the bicentennial celebration. On retirement, I turned from working with the very young, with the future citizens, to associations with those who have left their imprint in the fields of business, the professions, the arts, the sciences, technology, and the workaday world with its many, many classifications. The Jenks Senior Center has provided me with the zenith of a second career. It has kept me in the midst of an active stream of life. I thought I had reached the heights of glory when a scholarship was established in my name at the time of my retirement. But here is another pinnacle of joy this very evening. Passing of years is supposed to bring with it wisdom, but they also bring humility and a larger sense of the abiding values of life. Tonight, I am very humble. I am very happy. I have great respect for Albert Schweitzer, who said, "Open your eyes and look for some work for the sake of men, which needs a little time, a little friendship, a little empathy, a little toil." And the Jenks Senior Center has done that for me, to follow out his advice. My church has been extremely important to me through the years. It has been my guidepost. I could not live without it. My 45 years with children has been stimulating, with the happy passage of nearly a half of a century. One has to get up early in the morning to keep ahead of children. And then, so often, the children take the lead. When I retired, I had plans to write a book about the humorous adventures that I met in the school scene. But so far, all I have done is to make a brief outline. Someday, I hope I'll get to it. When trolley cars went along Washington Street at the foot of Kenwin Road, on the way to Stoneham, more than once I bumped down Kenwin Road on a sled steered by one of my pupils when I had only moments to spare to get the trolley. I had great faith in the sled driver, and dignity was not of the essence in time of need. I do not hesitate to say that more than once I went belly bumps because you made time quicker that way. There are situations when a teacher is startled by the lack of understanding that often raises its head in the classroom. I remember one morning during the recital of the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States, words rang out loudly and clearly in my ear. "I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic for which it stands." Then there are times when what is uttered by the teacher is not heard correctly. Such a situation came when a very irate parent went directly to the school committee, did not go to the teacher, did not go to the principal, nor the superintendent. And she said, "I will not have my boy called a scurvy elephant." Well, the teacher, of course, was called right away to the meeting with her superiors to explain what had taken place. It was then she remembered what she had said. The boy had been causing a great deal of confusion, and she told him that he was a disturbing element. I observed the kindergarten teacher escorting a little towhead to my office at great speed, depositing him in a chair by the door of my office, and said she could no longer tolerate his behavior. I questioned him when she had departed, and I said, what can have caused all of this? And he said, well, I'll tell you, Dr. Rich. I am allergic to girls. And every time I get near one, I have to spit. Well, I advised him that it was better to sit in the chair outside of the office and think how he was going to make peace with his teacher. When he found he could talk to me, I said, you come back, we'll discuss it. So it wasn't long before he said, Dr. Rich, I think I'm ready. So I invited him in. And I said, what did you decide? And he said, well, I've thought about it, and I've decided that you're going to have to build another toilet in the kindergarten because I have to spit so much. Well, there is a saying that the greater the gratitude, the shorter the speech of thanks. Words cannot convey to you the fullness of my appreciation to each and every one of you. This occasion has been a moving one. I shall never forget it to the end of my time on this planet Earth. I'm walking on air. Utopia certainly can't be an improvement on this hour. Tonight you have made me very rich, barring my name, and my cup is overflowing with gratitude. The Indian summer of my life has become infinite in the wealth and depth of the tone of my friends. Thank you so very, very much.
Beautiful.